Hey, Rad Dad Chad coming right back to you with a player spotlight, and today's player spotlight is Glenn Davis, first baseman, shown here on the Orioles, but Glenn was born March 28th, 1961 in Georgia. He did play for the Houston Astros and also the Baltimore Orioles. He played from 1984 to 1993, and just wanted to give you a little piece of information about Glenn Davis. If you were collecting back in the mid-80s, he was a guy you'd want to get. Was absolutely a wonderful power hitter for the Astros at the time. In fact, he was so good, he was in the top 10 and MVP 3 times between 86 and 90. Now, let's go back to Glenn's childhood. He did not have a wonderful childhood. His parents divorced while he was young. There was a young athletic director that took him in by the name of George Davis, who was no relation to Glenn. But George and his wife Norma happened to have a son whose name was George as well. However, he went by Storm, and Storm Davis wound up becoming a pitcher for the Orioles, and these two guys kind of became like brothers. They did win a couple state championships in high school. Glenn was originally drafted by the Orioles in 1979 in the 7th round. However, he decided to go back and play a few years for the University of Georgia, and then he was drafted in the 1st round of the secondary phase by the Houston Astros in 1981. He was a 2-time All-Star in 1986 and 1989. He really kind of hovered around the high 20s to low 30 marks in home runs from 89 to 90. He did end up hitting 190 for his career, and he also ended with an even OPS of 800. On January 10th, 1991, the Astros traded Glenn Davis to the Baltimore Orioles, and get this package. It was for a bunch of prospects. It was Pete Harnisch, who wound up having a pretty decent career, Steve Finley, and Curt Schilling. Big amount of prospects. So it tells you how big Glenn Davis was at the time. But unfortunately, later that year, he did suffer a nerve injury in his neck in spring training. It kind of zapped him of all of his power, and he was really done by the time he was 32. Since that time in retirement, he has founded the Carpenter's Way Home for Disadvantaged Children in Columbus, Georgia, as well as the Arabella Home for Girls. So that's a little bit on Glenn Davis. Hey, thanks for watching. Remember, be kind to others and be kind to yourself.